Hello Summoners, and welcome back to another ProGuides video. I'm Tia, and today we'll be talking about our predictions for the 15 most broken champs on patch 11.14. One of the most important things in a constantly evolving game like League is to be able to adapt with a meta, and that's why we're here for you. If you know what's going to be OP before the patch hits, you'll be ready to hit the ground running without having to test to see if that one buff or nerf really made that much of a difference. And if you don't know how to play any of these OP picks, or you're just a bit rusty, this will give you a few days to brush up on them in some normals or on a smurf. Before we get started, I just want to say this list is not in any particular order. It's just a list of the champs we think are going to be some of the most strongest and influential picks on this patch. Let's jump right in. We'll start things off with Camille. She's still reaping the rewards of the Divine Sunderer buff, being one of the strongest mid and late game carries in the game. She brings a lot to a comp, with the ability to duel most other split-pushing champs, lock down squishy high-priority targets with her ult, and completely demolish tanks with the massive true damage on her second Q. You'd think with such good scaling, she'd at least be weak early, but that's not the case. In fact, a good Camille player can win the vast majority of lanes, with the few hard matchups being manageable farm lanes. So she's strong early and late, with no solid counters. How would that not be OP? Another top laner that makes the list is Fiora. While she does have a few more counters to worry about than Camille, when she isn't totally shut down, Fiora has some of the highest carry potential in the game. She's pretty much the definition of a 1v9 champ. If the enemy team doesn't have the right tools to either chain CC or kite her to death, she can literally take on the entire team if played correctly. Basically, while she is a bit more manageable with certain team comps, if you don't have one of those comps, she can completely take over the game with just a couple of items. And once she does, there's no getting it back from her. Whether you're trying to learn to abuse these broken champs or how to deal with them when you end up on the wrong side of the matchup, if you really want to speed up the process, you should check out ProGuides.com. Our top tier level coaches are available 24/7, so no matter what time it is, you should at least head over to the site and check it out. Our coaches have grinded the same ladder as you, and now they want to share their tips and tricks with you. So stop spinning your wheels on your own and get on the fast track for higher elo today. Now let's get back on topic, shall we? Up next, we have Nocturne. For our last patch, we mentioned that Stride Breaker wouldn't be completely dead. Sure, champs that needed it just for the dash were hit pretty hard, hence the Darius buffs on this patch. But if a champ already has a way to get onto targets and they just need that extra sticking power via the slow, the change was actually a huge buff. Nocturne is one of those specific champs we named as benefiting from this change. Riot, slow as ever, is finally responding to his supreme lane dominance by hitting his passive's effectiveness against minions, but there are two things to say about that. One, he's probably still going to be good as a laner due to how incredibly strong his dueling is. Two, even if lane knock is hit hard, it doesn't change the fact that jungle Nocturne has been picking up steam fast with the buffed Stride Breaker. Since the nerf Nocturne is getting this patch specifically affects minions, he's still going to be an incredibly strong jungler. Another jungler who will be completely fine despite being in the nerfs part of this patch is Shaco. This is yet another slap on the wrist nerf that Riot has been handing out like candy at Halloween pretty much this entire season. Haha. A 27 HP nerf will very rarely come into play. Shaco's durability has nothing to do with his success as a jungler. Shaco is OP because he has an insanely fast first clear, highly effective ganks, and can either be a snowbally assassin or a huge deterrent to any type of diver with his AP build. Sure, the loss of 5 movement speed means he gets around the map just a bit slower, but he's still going to have crazy pressure, and when he's fed, he doesn't exactly need that movement speed to one-shot your ADC. Ivern has been a favorite of ours for quite a while. While he may not be the flashiest most 1v9 champ in the game, there's no denying that he's an incredibly effective way to rake in the LP. While he's not the best 1v1 duelist, his snare, shield, and slow make him a great skirmisher, so he works best when working around a winning lane early game. As the game goes on, he pretty much plays like any other enchanter. Shield allies, disrupt enemies, and use any actives you have to keep your team alive and win the fight. Over the past several patches, Xin has steadily moved up in the jungler tier list, and now he's a serious contender for the best champ in the role. Riot actually caught on kinda quick compared to how long they've reacted to other insanely busted champs this season. But still, the nerf that's being pushed out is lackluster. Taking 2 seconds off of his W's cooldown at max rank just doesn't change the fact that he has a disgustingly strong early game, good scaling as a frontliner diver in teamfights, and he's unduelable pretty much at all stages of the game. The final jungler we have for the list is Fiddlez. Not sure why, but Riot completely refuses to touch him. No offense to any Fiddle mains, but he is one of those super elo inflated champs, as they say. That isn't to say there aren't good players that play Fiddlez or anything like that, but a bad player can definitely abuse the champ to climb. Just think about it. We're in such a gank-heavy meta, but Fiddle's ult is just so overwhelmingly strong that it can single-handedly decide a fight. The issue is, it's just really OP no matter what the game state is. If Fiddle's team is ahead, they have easy setup for Fiddle ults around Dragon, or can even dive towers with it. If Fiddle's team is behind, and the enemy team tries to siege, he just has to land one good ult to completely turn the game around. It's just too hard to shut him down and keep him down for good. Landing one of those game-ending Fiddle ults 45 minutes into the game is personally one of my favorite feelings in League of Legends, and that brings us to today's question of the day. Which ult do you find most satisfying? Whether it be a flashy outplay, a massive engage, or some other big game-changing plays, let us know your answer down in the comments below. Now, without further ado, let's get on with the video. Our pick for the most OP mid laner on this patch is Sylas. He may not look that great in the lower elos, but when a good player is piloting Sylas, he can become pretty close to unstoppable once you get to the mid and later stages of the game. He's just too well-rounded of a champ to not be good. He does well in both short, bursty trades and more extended ones, so he's fine to fight a variety of opponents. And the ability to steal ults means he can help fill gaps his team comp may have. Lacking engage? Steal an ult from someone like Malphite or Ashe. Or maybe your team just doesn't want to take a fight. Use a stolen Janna or Gragas ult to disengage things. Cat returns yet again to another one of our OP lists. The last change she got was losing 5 movement speed on patch 11.10, and no surprise, it did literally nothing to change how the champ works. She is still an incredibly punishing champ to lane against, with an opponent carelessly getting too close to a dagger being a potential all-in target as early as level 2 or 3. And once Katarina gets rolling, she can snowball wildly out of control. She's just too hard to shut down in fights. A lot of people think it's as simple as holding CC for her ult, but the thing is, a lot of Kat's damage comes from her passive daggers. Don't get me wrong, her ult also does a ton of damage itself, but more importantly, it tags everyone in range, so she can pick up a reset if anyone she hits dies. And once Kat gets a single reset, it's usually only a matter of seconds before the entire enemy team is staring at a gray screen. For the ADCs, our prediction for best champ in the role this patch is Tristana. She simply does everything too well. For one, she has insane snowball potential. Of all the early game ADCs, her burst damage in trades is the highest. On top of that, her jump gives her good engage range, so once the snowball starts, she can very easily keep it going. She's also an incredibly slippery target, able to avoid almost all abilities and buffer most of those that she can't with her jump. And when jump alone doesn't cut it, her ult's knockback gives some extra self-peel. And if all that is not enough, her scaling range and huge attack speed steroid make her a hyper carry. While she may not have the insane DPS that other hyper carries like Jinx and Kog'Maw have, her extreme self-sufficiency more than makes up for it. Our next OP pick for this patch is Zilean. He's super strong as both a mid laner and support, with his niche being pretty much the same regardless of which role you're playing him in. Zilean has actually already been a solid pick for what feels like forever now, constantly showing up in our top 3 main series, but we think he's even more busted now. And that's because he synergizes incredibly well with the meta bruiser top laners. The loss of Stridebreaker's dash means that a lot of champs are suffering from not being able to actually get onto targets. With Zilean here to remedy that, otherwise easily kiteable champs can easily stick to and bring down backline targets. Of course, it wouldn't be a Season 11 meta video without mentioning Lulu. We've covered her so much, I don't think there's really much to say. She's good early and disgustingly strong in mid to late game fights. Her ability to buff up a hyper carry or hard shut down enemy divers is unparalleled, and even though I play her, she does need to be stopped, so Righto, please. When it comes to all-around champs that can do it all, Thresh is the go-to pick for support mains. He's been nerfed multiple times this season, but none of those nerfs have gone after the parts of his kit that make him such a reliable pick. If they really wanted to knock down Thresh from the top tier of supports, they'd throw out some nerfs for his Lantern. The ability to grant allies a get-out-of-jail-free card is what makes Thresh such a god-tier pick in pretty much every meta. Weird how Tahm Kench can save allies from certain death, so Riot beats him into the ground for years and then reworks him. But Thrush's Lantern has been saving immobile squishies from otherwise certain death, and Riot just pretends they don't know why he's so broken. For those games when Lulu is banned, Janna is another OP enchanter that Riot won't acknowledge. While she may not have the super buffing capabilities that Lulu brings, Janna definitely has some perks of her own. For one, she peels like no other. Her Q can stop dashes from champs like Lee and Zac, but that's not always enough. When things get really bad, her ult's ability to fully reset a fight by shoving all enemies away can be a huge game saver. Aside from the generic enchanter role she fills, Janna is also the one champ in the class that is really good at making proactive plays on the map. With the movement speed from her passive NW, Janna can roam the map pretty quickly and can even pull off ganks pretty effectively in the mid lane. Finishing off our list for this patch, we have Zyra. She's basically an auto-win for laning phase, with her plants allowing her to 1v2 the enemy bot lane, poking them while Zyra herself is completely out of harm's way. With the enemy bot lane being whittled away at, Zyra's ADC is free to build up a CS lead as well as take turret plates, so even without actually getting kills, her lane is just always bot gap. On top of the lead she gets her ADCs, Zyra is also a more than capable threat herself, serving as an extra source of magic damage for teams that may otherwise be lacking. That about wraps things up for our predictions for the 15 most broken champs on patch 11.14. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to sub so you never miss out on any of our content like this. Remember to let us know your pick for the most satisfying ult down in the comments below. And one last thing, don't forget to check out our Discord in the description box below, where you can discuss League further or just hang out and be a part of our community. I can't wait to see you guys back for the next video. But until then, good luck on the Rift, drink some coffee if you're old enough, and also drink water because then you'll be thirsty. Alright, have a good one, bye.